Hello, and welcome to my first New World video. So I have been no-lifing this game since it came out on September 28th of 2021. It is now 1:30 a.m. on the West Coast of November 4th. So the patch is coming out my time in about 5.5 hours. So the new patch that we're talking about is New World Update 1.0.5. So the reason why I wanted to start doing videos on New World, if you take a look at my channel, it's previously was a little bit of SOTOR stuff. I did mainly PvP there. New World got me because of the PvP, and I've been playing the game like crazy. So let's go ahead and dive into New World. And at the end of the video, I'll give you some of my thoughts about the current state of the game and different things like that, and what you might expect from the channel, given that I'm going to cover New World a little bit. All right, let's go ahead and get started into the notes. So I'm just going to read through the notes. A lot of people don't read patch notes these days. Drives me nuts because I'm from like old school WoW days. So it'll be releasing at 7 a.m. on November 4th in everybody's time zone. It's mostly just general changes and bug fixes. So the stuff that I'm really interested in is mostly exploits, bugs, combat, PvP. But I'll go through the whole notes for everybody. So general, coin sellers. We know many of you have seen the pesky chat messages from players spamming messages, and we're continuing to investigate solutions to this issue. We discovered that many coin sellers were creating new characters and transferring money to other accounts. To combat this, we've banned and suspended many of the reported accounts. Thank you for your reports for players spamming chat, which is great. Obviously, you know, like gold sellers. Always good to see them get banned. Added restrictions to prevent player-to-player trading and currency transfer from characters under level 10 or whose account is less than 72 hours old. Logging in after your account is 72 hours old will enable your ability to trade and transfer currency once you've hit level 10. So this means you can't automatically like help out a friend if he's just starting the game. But given the fact that, you know, level 10, 72 hours, it's not that big of a deal. Depending on how hard you're grinding and how much you know about the game is how fast you'll level. So, I mean, 10's really easy. 72 hours is a pretty long time period. But to combat this gold selling issue, that completely makes sense. Redistributed coin value from some early quests to later in the main story quest line, keeping the total amounts of coin earned the same, just delivered in quests slightly later. So the reason why they did this is that a lot of people were making friends and family accounts or something like that. So and then they would do the first set of quests, which would net you a few hundred gold, or sometimes 600, 700 gold, which at the beginning of the game was quite a bit because there was almost no way to earn gold outside of questing. And so they would just send that gold to their other account, usually their main account, and then delete that character and then do it again and again and again. I know it sounds boring as hell, but New World Gold was selling for a lot for real life money, even though it's against TOS. So that's what they're trying to combat, and they're also trying to combat all the people that are spamming in the various global channels. Trading post usage will be restricted until new characters accept the introduction to trading post quests in their first settlement. So this quest happens around level 6 or 7. When you first get to your first settlement, it's not that hard to get, but you actually do have to, you know, play for 30 minutes to an hour or something. I mean, makes sense. People were laundering gold through the trading post with obscenely expensive items when there was gold duping and stuff. So this is yet another thing that they're trying to go ahead and tackle. We will monitor the impact this has on bots and the health of the game and continue to adjust as necessary. Obviously, this is great. Gold sellers are never fun, but they plague every MMO. If you've played an MMO, you've come across a gold seller. So let's go ahead and get to the exploits. This is the juicy stuff. Fixed a bug where players were able to duplicate items via storage sheds and crafting stations. So there was a bug that people were exploiting for the last, I don't know, I think a week. And people were able to dupe items as well as gold. And I have heard telltale in the dark places known as Reddit and other forums of the interwebs where people talk about this stuff, is that there are entire servers where people were just giving out void bent. And if you don't know what void bent is, it is a gear score 600, which is the cap of the game, crafted gear with legendary materials, because they were duplicating the void bent ingots, making the armor and just giving it to people. People have duped millions of gold. Some of them have been banned. Some of them haven't been. I'm not here to talk about that. That's a big old controversy for forums on the internet. I'm just here to give you some news. We fixed the issue of gold duplicating on territory projects we introduced by disabling trading and making sure it would not occur in the future should we need to disable trading again. So to combat the gold dupe bug, they disabled trading for about 2 to 3 days, I believe, and it had a pretty severe impact on the economy of the game, obviously, because it didn't exist. But the thing is that all forms of wealth transfer, trading, trade post, everything was turned off. So companies that owned territories and had to basically pay their bills to keep all the crafting stations up and to have all the battlements stay up and all the repeaters and everything on the fortress, they couldn't pay those because if they paid them, it wouldn't take the gold. It would fail and give them the gold back for free. It would duplicate the gold. And companies that were exploiting this and making millions of gold, some of those people in the company and hopefully a lot of people in the company that were responsible, but not people that aren't, which is hard to know, got banned. So that was a little thing that they added. So we got combat, life staff, orb of protection. Removed the small area of effect that were triggering on pass-through from every hit of the base version of orb of protection. The AoE no longer triggers on pass-through from the Aegis upgrade. It will only trigger on impact against an enemy or object now. If I understand this right, there was a perk that gave a fortification buff if you got hit by the splash AoE of Orb of Protection when you cast it on an enemy and it hit a nearby friendly. Evidently, it was getting triggered multiple times through the pass-through. So I didn't know about this bug. Makes a lot more sense about kind of what was happening in Outpost Rush and stuff like that with the healers stacking up. This is a really fun one. Reduced attribute respec coin cost by 60%. So I think it's 500 gold. That makes it 200 gold. So it's only 200 gold to respec your attributes, which is like a quest and a half, you know, if you have any quests left, which some people don't. So reduce weapon mastery respec cost by Azoth cost by 75%. So that's pretty huge because there's an Azoth cap in the game of 1,000 Azoth, which is kind of like a bind on pickup currency in the game. And you can only get it by very certain activities. One of those activities, thankfully, is Outpost Rush. To respec a weapon means that you would take all the perks, you would take all the talents out of it, and then be able to redo it just like a talent tree in like World of Warcraft or something. It costs 200 Azoth, so 1/5 of your entire repository of Azoth would be spent just to respec one weapon. So trying different builds and stuff was getting really expensive really fast. This makes it 50 Azoth. That's really easy. Reduce coin cost of chisels by 20 to 50% depending on tier. Chisels are needed to make orbs or tuning orbs, which let you do the dungeons. They have different tiers that enable you to make better and better and higher level dungeon orbs. To encourage competition in Outpost Rush, we've slightly reduced the coin and Azoth rewards for the losing team. So Outpost Rush came out last weekend, and it's very buggy, but it's still a lot of fun, depending on your server size. So it's not like a World of Warcraft Battleground or anything like that. This is more akin to Battlegrounds when they were first introduced in Vanilla WoW, where it's only people on your server that queue up. So you're fighting the same people or fighting alongside the same people often, all the time. It depends on how big your server is and how big your PvP community is. Some people would easily get a really bad reputation on the servers already because they were AFKing. They were wandering off, not doing anything. Just because the gold and Azoth rewards, specifically the gold, were so good, even if you lost. They're pretty good for when you win, but they weren't that bad for doing nothing if you lost. So this is good. We have surfaced the war conflict progress bar on the map and the faction board when there is an upcoming invasion, so you can still gain war conflict for your faction. When the war conflict progress bar, there's been a lot of contention. It's like, can we do influence when we're doing an invasion? Can we not? So I think this is a way to kind of clear it up. It's still not the best worded, so I'm not 100% understanding. Identical weapon equipping. Players can no longer equip the same weapon type in both weapon slots. We want each weapon slot to have a different type to open up combat diversity. This change also addresses issues which would occur when swapping between weapons of the same type. So the reason why they did this is because people started equipping 2 fire staves or 2 life staves, and they would kind of like machine gun the light attacks by animation canceling, and most of the time by using a macro. So they kind of turned it into an exploit. Really unfortunate to see. Simple enough fix. You shouldn't have 2 fire stabs anyway. So let's go ahead and go to group scaling passives. Fixed issues which could cause passive effects that scaled on the number of nearby foes, such as Bloodlust, Great Axe, Against All Odds, Hatchet, and Outnumbered Warhammer, to apply incorrectly. So what this was doing, it was making, for me personally, because I'm mostly melee, Bloodlust would activate and not turn off. And Bloodlust means when you're looking at a target, it would give you a 30% haste buff, so you run faster, and 15% more damage. Now, Against All Odds was even worse. Like, people stopped using hatchets on my server because they didn't want to get reported or banned, and they didn't want a bad server reputation unless they were just terrible people anyway. Against All Odds basically gives you 5% damage for every foe that's around you within 5 meters. Now, the problem was, if you did not weapon swap and you just stood there with a hatchet, then you would continually build that buff and it would never drop off, no matter if you ran away from enemies or not. So people were building up, even me, like I found this bug randomly doing a quest in Shattered Mountain. I was 2-shotting Bison with like 4 to 5k crits on light attacks with my hatchet. I accidentally found this bug. It was easily replicatable. Some people were using it in wars that I fought in. It was unfortunate. But that's fixed now, which is great. Spell strike consistency fixed issues which cause several magic spells such as Ice Storm and Gravity Well to not hit consistently. So, unfortunately, AGS or Amazon Game Studios, when they implement a bug fix, they often create more bugs right now, which is very unfortunate. For some reason, last patch, last week, when they fixed a host of different issues, they randomly broke pretty much both intellect weapons in the game and most AoE abilities in the game that were spell effects. So, for example, Ice Storm does like an AoE area of effect kind of circle on the ground, and it does ice, and it does ice damage to everybody that's in that circle, slows them, and you can do all kinds of awesome stuff to it. However, after the patch, it just didn't tick, or it would randomly tick, or it wouldn't, like, or if you were standing in the center, it would work, but the edges, it wouldn't. Also, Gravity Well is supposed to hold people in place. It wasn't doing that. People could just roll out of it. It was super annoying. But now here's the big fix. This is the one that made me want to make this video, because I don't think people understand this about the game. Resilient is an item perk. Fixed an issue that caused this perk to reduce all damage instead of just damage from critical hits. So this is really what has been caught, other than the fact that healing in this game is a little too much, which we can talk about at a later time. The Resilient perk, which is found on every single faction piece of armor you get at endgame, and also the Void Bent set, which people have been grinding and grinding to get, would give you a flat damage reduction instead of just critical hits. So as far as I understand it, that's why everybody haven't really been upgrading. They've been like going from faction armor to Void Bent in PvP, because they would literally take like no damage. Now, something else I've also heard that I have personally kind of tested, because you kind of have to PvP, is Onyx gems are not just doing physical damage resistance either. They are doing all damage. Another flat reduction. Or so I have heard. It feels like that's true. When I had diamonds, which are another gem that does physical resist, I was getting hit a lot harder than when I was doing onyxes. So that's something I've heard. I don't know if it's 100% confirmed. So that's something to know. That's one of the reasons why people were not taking damage in PvP, is because people were either had faction gear or they switched to Void Bent gear, which both have the Resilient perk. And I think I did the math once, and I'll pop it up on the screen. When you look at a faction set of gear, you know, there's 5 faction pieces of gear, and then you put onyxes in all of them, and then you get onyx jewelry, you get like 70% damage reduction. It is absolutely absurd. And then you tie that in with how overpowered, overscaled healing is, and just heavy armor in general. People just weren't dying in PvP. It was hectic. So I'm really looking forward to this change. I just want to see what they want the damage numbers to look like when people don't have absurd amounts of damage reduction. PvP flagging fixed an issue that allowed PvP and PvE players to heal each other. They do not want that to happen, obviously, because they should be fighting. So Outpost Rush, this came with a lot of bugs when it launched last week. I was so excited for it to launch because I just needed my PvP fix, and for another discussion another time, people don't flag in this game, especially at max level, unless they just want to be, you know, not very nice. So Outpost Rush fixed an issue that was allowing players to get out of the starting fort before the match starts. So Outpost Rush is a 20 versus 20 PvE, PvP VE, or PvX. But it's the easiest way to describe it is it's the MMO battleground version of a MOBA. There's bosses, you can summon things, you can build forts. There's 3 forts, they give you points. It functions really similarly to how a MOBA functions in like different versions, like really close, not exactly the same. But people were able to get through the starting door before the match started and start capping points. That didn't work. That was really bad. We now prevent multiple players from interacting with the altar in Outpost Rush. This will prevent players from getting multiple summon tokens per 500 Azoth. So on one side of the map, there's something called Baroness, which spawns every 10 minutes, and if your team kills it, it locks the other team's point generation for 3 minutes. On the other side of the map, there's a corruption altar protected by some corrupted priests that if you kill and you put in 500 Azoth, which all the mobs and sometimes the players drop Azoth, if you put it in there, it gives you a token. And it gives you a token for a corrupted brute. And a corrupted brute is basically like a giant demon. And you can summon it at the summoning circles, which is in the front and back of each of the 3 forts. So people were going in and basically getting multiples of the tokens and summoning brutes everywhere. And brutes are really hard to kill, and they do all kinds of AoE crap, and it's super annoying. I'd been in many Outpost Rushes where people were exploiting, and it sucked. So I'm really glad that's fixed. Fixed an issue that sometimes caused the nameplates of summon allies to appear hostile. So again, about the brutes, if it has a blue health bar, it's supposed to be friendly. If it's a red health bar, it's supposed to be an enemy. However, that wasn't working. They were always red to me, whether they were friendly or not. So I just basically had to run by them and hope to God it didn't beat the shit out of me. Fixed an issue that was causing Battle Bread, the food buff in Outpost Rush, to be twice as effective as intended. So Battle Bread is a stack of 5 pieces of food that you can buy in Outpost Rush for 25 Azoth, which drops off of 25 Azoth drops on pretty much every single mob. It gives you a stack 5, and it's supposed to give you damage, PvP specific damage buff of 10%. Evidently it was doing twice as much, so it was 20%, and that's why people were getting Battle Bread and really slapping people around. Updated the tool tip for Battle Bread and Monster Slayer Stew to properly describe the buffs they provide. From the previous tooltips, I haven't seen the new tooltips. Battle Bread's supposed to give 10% in PvP. Monster Slayer is supposed to give 15% damage in PvE when you're doing like bosses and also other mini events in the map. Fixed an issue that would cause players to become stuck in a teleport loop if they teleported out of Outpost Rush while using /unstuck. I did not come into this bug. I heard some friends might have gotten stuck in this bug, but I personally didn't experience it. It's good that they fixed it though. General bug fixes. Here we go. We're scrolling down. Fixed an issue that prevented some people from joining Outpost Rush because they had a pending group invite. It's annoying. Not the biggest fix, but it's annoying. Repair kits should no longer require coin to use, which is great because the entire point of using a repair kit is so you don't spend gold to repair your gear. Fixed an issue that sometimes caused players to use the wrong consumable when using consumables from the inventory screen. So this can be the reason why this is a good fix is because you might have multiple consumables in your inventory as well as on your hotbar. The reason why you would do this is because you would have like stat food or mining food or whatever, and some of that can get very expensive depending on your server. So using the wrong one, not so fun. Fixed various issues with invasion status showing before the invasion was declared. I don't know this bug. Not exactly sure where it's going though. Updated missing English text for online. Taxing compensation. Last patch, it was stated in the game incorrectly, that first-time taxes were actually part of the first-time home buyers discount, which is 50% off. That wasn't true. So they reimbursed people that bought houses in the first couple weeks 2,000 gold to make up for the taxes they spent that they weren't anticipating. Fixed an issue allowing magical weapons to animation cancel their primary attacks with weapon swap or targeting spells, causing rate of fire to be faster than intended. That's the fire staff and life staff that I was talking about, that weapon, that animation canceling exploit. Fixed an issue that caused Ice Gauntlet upgrade pylon dodge to only work immediately after you place the ice pylon. I don't know this. I'm not a big caster. Most of the casters I know don't even use ice pylon, so I don't know. Fixed an issue that could cause a player to lose their house while offline during maintenance. In a future update, we will be reimbursing the players who encounter this issue. Exact details around the reimbursement will be in the corresponding update notes. So this sucks. Few of my company mates lost their houses, I believe, in Reekwater during maintenance a week or two ago. Just randomly, they just lost their house. So that really sucks. Fixed an issue with enemy AI duplicating and stacking spawns during the quest Shivering Timbers. I don't remember that quest. Fixed an issue that allowed players to initiate a server transfer if they were in the tutorial. So that's super weird that happens. Fixed an issue causing the trading post to become unresponsive or delayed. That's great. Trading post is kind of a pain sometimes. Improve server performance when a large number of players congregate in settlements. It's great because most servers, their trading hubs are in Windsward or in Everfall, which are basically dead center in the map. So basically everybody hangs out there. From, at least on my server, everybody hangs out in Windsward. That's like the hub. Fixed an issue that caused some territory influence to not be properly recognized when lots of players turned in PvP missions simultaneously. So this can be an issue because right now PvP missions, you get 3 PvP missions and you go run them. And if you have a whole company, or sometimes in my case of my server, a whole faction running these PvP missions, not getting credit for all of them that are turned in because you're all kind of zerging around is kind of a problem. Fixed an issue causing some player titles to show as uninitialized. This is a simple fix. I mean, like a simple bug, not that big of a deal. Fixed an issue where players could become stuck while fishing with lag. Oh no. Fixed the UI notification for landing in a hotspot while fishing. That's nice. Fixed the localization issue. Tools. Fix the time in Europe to properly account for the change from CST to CET. That's nice. Fixed an issue preventing gear score to increase past 589 from drop rewards. So that's pretty important I'm going to go over gearing in another video, but I mean, that's pretty important. The fact that some of that stuff wasn't dropping past that watermark level is super annoying. Speculative fixes. The fixes listed below are tentative fixes and mitigations. Our goal is to get these changes out and see if issues persist, so we can continue to work on them and address in a future update if necessary. Implemented a change to help us dig into the timed out while waiting for server to describe world issue, and added a fix to reduce occurrences of this issue while we continue to investigate. So that is New Worlds Update 1.0.5. It comes out November 4th. Server goes down 7 a.m. your local time, it sounds like, for most regions. And it's a 3-hour maintenance. Overall, these are fantastic changes. Specifically, the resilient bug that has been in the game for the entire 4 or 5 weeks the game's been out. So the second people got faction gear and figured out that Voidbent had the resilient perk, and that it just got absurd. There's people just never died. I've been in many a PvP situation where people just, if they had enough healers and enough resilient gear, nobody died. So this is a great change. I'm really interested to log in tomorrow and try some Outpost Rush and see like what it feels like people actually dying. So that'll be really cool. Like, that'll be really interesting to see what kind of damage numbers they were originally anticipating for the game. And then they can start making some tuning changes, because people are freaking out. They're like, I don't do enough damage, or they do too much damage, or they do too much healing, or whatever. Well, that's because like half the people in PvP are running around with like 70% damage reduction. Not talking about heavy armor or medium armor or light armor. So once these issues get fixed, we can start getting a feel for how the game is supposed to play. Now, Amazon Game Studios has a bad habit of breaking things when they fix things. So hopefully not many bad bugs come out of all these good bug fixes. But I'm going to start covering New World. There's a lot of topics I want to talk about. And the reason why I decided to start covering New World is not just because I've been no-lifing it and having a lot of fun, even though it's super buggy and rough, is because almost nobody's giving like solid information out. Like, it's like, for me personally, I come from a World of Warcraft, like, watch guides, figure out how to grind the gear, get better. Most people on my server don't even, like, half of them don't even know how to, you know, min-max or what they should go for. And I'm not saying that I know everything, but I'm going to start sharing what I know to people that watch my videos, because I can't find half this information myself. So I'm going to try and help out. Thanks for tuning in today. And I hope you really take care of yourself, and I'll see you in the next one.